Okay, I think I'm live now. You know what? We'll just do that for now. Who cares? This is what I think's going on. Okay? So you have your... I can't... On the right-hand side, you can't really see my pointer. I can't even hardly see it. On the right-hand side, you have immigrants, which will give the U.S. federal government votes. Not only that, but they can launder money through fraud. So let me go here. Let me go here. So they get votes, and they can launder money through fraud. So it's a benefit for the government. Over here you have U.S. citizens, which would be on this side up here. You and me, we do taxes, which produces goods and services for mega corporations, and consumers, which produces more money for mega corporations, as well as those mega corporations and ourselves through taxes and whatever else, lobbying and whatever else, gives the government money. You see that? I'm not really good at drawing here, but they benefit off of both. And then you start doing a little bit of research here. What is the average IQ of a Somalian? Okay? My spelling isn't, I'm not the smartest person in the world. The average IQ of a Somali person is approximately 90.81 according to the Bright IQ test. Other sources report as of 90.7, so around 90. But the most consistent figure is around 90. This score indicates Somalians rank relatively low in terms of average IQ globally. Okay? Which I kind of wanted to point that out. Let me bring myself back here. Ooh, let me talk to you guys a little bit. With that being said, them having relatively low IQ, how were they able to set all this up? You know what I mean? I've never ran a scam in my life. I've just went to work for mega corporations and got screwed over, you know. Like, barely livable wages my whole life. Which is why I don't have any high definition LED lights and whatever else, and I'm a really small YouTube channel. I'm just throwing my thought processes out there. So if you have a pretty low IQ, how do you set up these pretty complicated, sophisticated scams? There's got to be somebody there to guide somebody. Like, when I went to go try to get food stamps, I didn't even know where to begin. Sure, I had Google and everything, but, you know, I went and got guidance from my elderly mother who has went through the process and went through the process with my brother to give me some pointers, okay? Because I had no idea. Now, let's go over to here. Uh-oh. Daycare tax credit exemptions. Are you a tax expert? I'm not. So that means that these people were able to not only set up these sophisticated things, such as daycares, get actual assets, and if you're running any type of business, you're going to need to budget, and among many other things, food, water, electricity, trash, you know, you got to get all this stuff, infrastructure set up in the business. Wi-Fi, information technology such as, you know, internet, phones. There's a lot of things that go into this. Okay, it's not just, oh yeah, let me rent out this building because I got a couple million from the federal government. No, 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 no. Nope. Mm-mm. Permitting. Let me Google another thing. I just thought of something. Do you need a permit to run a daycare? Oh, yes, you do typically need a permit and license to operate a children's daycare. But specific requirements can vary based upon your location and type of daycare you plan to run. Did you also know with this, you're also going to need what is that called? I have one, which it's a failed business, but I still have one. It's a EIN. Do you need an EIN to run a business? BUISINESS. The IRS. You have employees, you must have an EIN file. Multi-member LLCs, you file tax returns, whatever, hold taxes on income. Pretty much you're going to need to set up a business. So you got to set up the business. You're also going to have permit and licensing. Plus, I already know this because I've worked in the commercial field a couple of times. Not only can't you just rent a regular building, guess what else you're going to have to do? All the electrical, yeah, those have to be up a certain height because kids could play with the outlets. Plus, they have to be covered in specific ways. Plus, you got to do stuff to the doors, doorknobs. There's a lot. I only read like certain little parts in that through getting my certification or whatever in carpentry, but through that they want you to go through the industrial, residential, and commercial aspect. So like all these stupid little things that I had to know, it made me smarter. So then you got to go and remodel. Essentially, you're gonna have to have contractors in there that are licensed to mess with the electrical outlets to move them up. I believe it's at least at minimum like a 36-inch or something like that. By code. And to be able to pass inspection, to be able to qualify the building for the daycare, among various other things. I haven't in depth done a whole bunch of research on this, but I've done enough to be able to understand that no Joe Schmo dumbass like myself is going to plot all this together in a short period of time and be able to successfully be able to pull this off, if you catch my drift. Yes, Somalian-run daycares in Minnesota are involved in tax-related issues. Uh-oh. There have been allegations of fraudulent activity, with reports indicating that these centers are receiving taxpayer funds while not providing real child care services. Federal prosecutors have charged Somalian immigrants for skimming millions of dollars from government programs, highlighting significant concerns about the legitimacy of these daycares and their operations. Wow. So, evidently, blah, 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 federal prosecutors have charged these people. Who have they charged? See any of that on the news? I haven't. Wow. So, basically what I'm trying to get at here is to be able to not... Imagine this. Just imagine this for a second, okay? You just flip the roles. You go to Somalia. You're all there all by yourself. Maybe you bring one or two family members, like let's say just your small family. Your significant other, and like one or two kids, okay? And you try to ask people about these questions, but nobody speaks English. Imagine that, there's a language barrier. So you're going to go into this you don't even know the rules, you don't even know the laws, you just got here. And you're going to set up a multi-million-dollar daycare facility that produces multi-million-dollar funds every year when you go to Somalia, that you don't even speak the native language, or just very tiny bit. Does any of this make a lot of sense to you? Because it really doesn't to me either. And then, like, I seen on the internet that somebody broke in to steal pay stubs and documentation of workers and the children. That why, for what? No. Why? Nobody does that. Nobody. If you're a crackhead or whatever, you're gonna be looking for cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, whatever you could get you messed up in any type of way, and or money, or like watches or TVs, you know what I mean? Like something that you could take to a pawn shop and get money for. And they know what all those items are. And it's not pay stubs or paperwork. Just throwing that out there. So when, like, you look at these types of stories and stuff, and like you could put a thought together or whatever and kind of have some type of understanding about it, and none of it makes any type of sense to you, it kind of reminds me of a lot of other things that have happened that doesn't make any sense to anybody. Like, I don't know, maybe the Maui wildfires, or like California fires, or like the Charlie Kirk thing with Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk going on. You know, like a lot of things just don't make a lot of sense, because even me, I am not a smart person at all. Like these reporters or whatever else, you know, they probably have some type of intelligence to them to be able to come to conclusions about certain topics that may not know a lot about. But what I've found is, you know, just by me going on the internet here and like just Googling a couple different things and basic knowledge that I have about facilities and what you need to be able to do stuff, I can come to that conclusion really quick, that some person with, what was it, approximately a 90 IQ, as well as not fully understanding the native language. So you have like not only the lower IQ, but then you have the language barrier as well. And I know there's exceptions, you know. Every now and again you just come across a person that's pretty smart. Now, with that being said, there must be maybe that one really smart one that got through, that really had a high IQ, and that had effectively understood English very well as understood many other things very well, which is, I guess, plausible that was able to just go from, immigrant to immigrant to immigrant, and or sell their services or whatever it is, which is pretty unlikely, to be able to set up all these people. Or the more plausible suggestion would be that somebody in our leadership set all this shit up. And usually, I usually run by the most plausible, generally most times it's the case, is the most plausible thing. I'm thinking the latter on that one. Somebody set all this stuff up. Why? I don't know. Well, probably going back to this, they could, well, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Yeah, we could do that. They could, there's a thing called a return on investment. Okay, they invested a lot of money, I can't find my cursor, on these guys right here. Lots of money, right? So, them putting a lot of money in these things, they needed to get some money back, which would be this thing up above that. Because you think they're just, which a lot of people said, they're just bringing these immigrants in for votes. And I'm like, I just don't see it. For a freaking vote, you could talk, and you could have somebody with some charisma, or pay them, a fraction of a quarter of a cent of the cost of what they're pumping into these immigrants and everything. And I'm like, I don't think that's it. I think they're doing this to run fraud, right? These people aren't Americans. So that separates them, like I said about many other things, that separates them from accountability. They'll have these people do all the illegal stuff, and the leaders will just be in charge of what they do, and they'll throw them a couple bones. Hey, you can live in a $500,000 house and drive a Lincoln, as well as get, your normal stuff. You'll just be taken care of, basically. Never have to work a day in your life. You just go and do these things. The Congress people, or whoever's in the leader position on this, are making millions, hundreds of millions, on the money, on the fraud side of things, being pumped into Act Blue or whatever, and then through that, they don't have to spend millions or whatever lobbying them or whatever. Who knows how it's all set up on the back end. But that's my best guess on what the hell's going on here. Because it's the most plausible answer. Because for somebody to have a 90 IQ and not know anything, how are you going to set up a daycare? You're going to go to your local government and be like, hey, what do I need to set this up? Oh, okay. So how are they going to get... How are they going to get all this money? How are they going to get all this funding? How are they going to get, all this paperwork done? Because even with the paperwork, you're going to need some type of infrastructure. Hey, to copy it and then, or to print it out, fill out the paperwork, tax it back over. Oh, you could do that at the local library. Blah, blah, blah. Dude, come on. And a lot of these people were set up in freaking hotels and whatever else. I mean, maybe they had a year or two to scheme on this, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. And trust me, if I was able to make a free dollar and be able to come up with an idea like this, I think I'd probably take it. Even if it give me some jail time, I'd probably be like, you know what, who cares? At least I get a couple years of, free, just shit, hanging out. No stress, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Just hang out until the police knock on the door. I mean, I don't know. None of this shit makes sense to me, guys. Let me know what you think. See y'all later.